This is a sketchbook. I don't really journal, but like I like drawing. So I would like just draw different things in the morning or something. It just helps my brain. And I just do like weird things. You know, sometimes I'll draw like clothes, you know what I'm saying? Like just stuff. And then I'll write a little note at the end of it. Just drawing articles of clothing for no reason. Just trying things. Like I drew a panda. The note on the bottom is, don't know, just a panda. I drew kitchen appliances one day, you know, nothing fancy. I've been doing this since grade school, since I was a kid. I've always drawn. Hey, I'm Channel Tress, and these are the pieces I would never sell. I am an artist, DJ, producer, and many more.
Black techno guy.
Growing up in Compton was fun from what I can remember. I grew up with my great-grandparents, so I just remember a lot of gospel being played. They made me go to church almost every day. And when I was 5, I picked up the drums. I was playing on like pillowcases and stuff, and then my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather, they seen me doing that, and then like they bought me a drum set and put it in the garage. I started teaching myself the drums, and then I ended up becoming the drummer at my church, and then I was a drummer in my school. That's pretty much where it started. What church taught me was music is spiritual, and music is also a getaway. And music can provoke you to do things. Like if it was offering, there would be a certain song that was played. When they do this thing called altar call. When it was altar call, they would play these emotional chords, and you know, and people would start feeling things. When people were shouting, there was a song for that. So it taught me about the spirituality behind music. We were taught, you know, give God your best, you know what I'm saying? So like the night before, my great-grandmother, she would have us crease our pants, you know what I'm saying? My great-grandfather would have us shine our shoes. I learned how to tie a tie. It was definitely encouraged to look your best. You know, I used to get made fun of at school because I wore loafers and stuff like that. And it's funny now, like that stuff is cool. So like with the evolution of style and everything, I never really had to change anything because I was already doing most of that in high school. When I was growing up, all the niggas selling dope had Rolexes, gold Rolexes. So I wanted to just get a Rolex. I mean, it was either getting a Rollie chain or getting a Rolex. So the first thing I did was drop 10K on this Rolex, which I don't wear much, but it's an item that just means a lot to me. I bought it when I first got signed to a major label. Although I'm not signed to a major label anymore, I still remember that accomplishment, just grinding, you know what I'm saying, as long as I was, and then getting that opportunity or somebody seeing something in me that wanted to sign me. So I thought that was amazing. I cherish that memory, and I bought a watch to commemorate that. The little watch I got probably ain't that much to someone else, but I still put my own meaning to it, and it means a lot to me. My great-grandfather, he had suits galore. My great-grandmother, she had scarves. She had all kind of stuff in her closet. And I would wear both of their stuff, you know? It was like hats and different things. And I remember Andre 3000 being a big style inspiration. I think he had a clothing line called Benjamin Bigsby. And then the American Boy music video with Estelle and Kanye. I remember, I think it was like 2008. I was in high school and I seen that music video. I was like, yeah, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Because there was an era where everybody was wearing long pro clubs and baggy jeans and stuff like that. But when I seen that music video, I was like, I'm not going back. You know, I just changed my style from that. Music-wise, one of the first albums I remember hearing that really affected me was In My Mind by Pharrell. Also, the Speaker Box Love Below. I remember there was like a burnt CD. It's like 12 maybe. I don't know how that was. I think it was 2003, I don't know. But I remember seeing the CD and I put it in the boombox, and it was the intro to Love Below. And it was just like this symphony playing and Andre singing. And I was just like, I don't know, I was like moved to tears. And I just remember that. It was the same feeling I got when I was at church, but I got it from something that wasn't classified as gospel music. So I was just like, oh wow, this is powerful. That moment I was like, I want to do this. I want to make people feel this. I want to be involved in whatever this is. This is a Yamaha keyboard. It has it's battery powered. I just pretty much use it on tour to do my scales. But it's just easy to lug around. It can fit in my backpack. It has like some delay stuff, so if I'm feeling wonky, I could just mess around. has a chorus. So it's just a fun little thing to play with. I'm just like always making something or writing some chords, or if I have something in my head, I could just pull this out and like get an idea off. One thing I learned as a musician is you always want to have like little things around you, little pieces of things, so you can always just get an idea off, because inspiration strikes at the most random times. I might leave this on my kitchen table, I might leave this in my green room, you know, while I'm on tour. So this is another thing I would never sell that I take with me almost everywhere. It has a little suitcase for it. I like the suitcase for it because I carry it and I feel like a businessman. But I got my MPC in there. But there's some songs, so I use this to make a lot of my new album. There's some songs on my new album that started from here. I just worked on a remix last night and it started on here. It has a SSD card. I can export it as an Ableton session. So when I'm done on here, I could just literally put the SSD card in my computer and it'll pull up as an Ableton session. And it also has a built-in speaker, which is very convenient. Oh, no, turn it on. You know. Yeah, that was a beat that I made on my kitchen table, you know, last night. I keep the other one upstairs in my studio, and then I just leave this one on the kitchen table because sometimes I wake up and when I'm reading in the morning or something, I just like maybe crank out a beat. You know, I look at music sometimes like a sport. If you don't do it, you'll get rusty. So I always try to just make sure I'm keeping my creative muscle, even when I'm not feeling it, even when I don't have a specific thing planned, I always try to keep my creative muscle like going. Man, I remember I was young, I had a mentor. He was the youth pastor at my church, but he was also a music producer. He let me come to his studio and he taught me how to use the gear. And I just remember making my first beats on there. I had like a little burnt CD to take home, and there was 5 beats that I made, and I just like kept listening to them over and over. I would have these little instances where friends, maybe like in my neighborhood, Compton, like people would have like makeshift studios in their closets and stuff like that. I just remember being over at my friend's house and like just making stuff. And I remember one time I made a song and I was singing on it, and it kind of became a hood classic. Like on my block, like everybody was just like, "That's you singing that song?" I was just like, "Yeah." That was like my first like shot of feeling like something affecting like people around me. And then we used to ditch school and like, you know, and just be in the garage and freestyle for hours. It was something, one, that kept me from like gangbanging, but then also it helped me be creative, and it just kind of, I wouldn't say it kept me out of trouble, but like it just kept me busy. And it's so funny that I'm an adult and I'm still doing some of those same things. This vinyl has never been opened. It's the In My Mind vinyl from Pharrell. This album meant a lot to me during my teenage years. I was able to get my hands on one, and I don't want to open it. I don't know. It's just like something that means a lot to me, and I keep it in my studio. I keep it visible because it reminds me of being a child, but it also reminds me to use my imagination. Yeah, well, he was definitely one of the people I looked up to. Got a chance to meet him and work with him on a couple songs for my next album called Enigma. Yeah, it was just a dream come true, all the above. Definitely encouraged me to like keep going, because you don't know when, where, or how, or what will come of it, you know? If I had stopped before with all the distractions or all the failures I had, then maybe I wouldn't have got to where I'm at now. This is a Mac Miller album, Balloonerism. A lot of my close friends worked on this album, like Thundercat and Taylor Graves. This album means a lot to me because it doesn't sound like none of his stuff like that was commercial. When you listen to the album, it just sounds like somebody got in the studio and just made what literally came to their mind first. It doesn't have corporation written on it. It doesn't have like, I gotta make this song to appeal to this crowd. It just has like, this is what I want to create, and this is what I'm creating. Purchased the vinyl because I was listening to this album while I was on tour. It's a big part of a lot of my plane rides. I would listen to it, and then once I get to like maybe this song called Rick's Piano, like towards the end of the album, my plane would always kind of be landing. It would just like give me comfort. I just love the soundscape of this album. I definitely just wanted to get the vinyl to commemorate how I feel about this project. I got into house music in college. I had to do a project for my music and world cultures class. I was looking for different things to study, and then I came across house music. I remember doing my research. I was like, oh snap, like, you know, this was, house music was created in Chicago, and like this is where they came to like congregate and like created this culture. And then I was further studying, and then I came across this interview that Moody Man did for Red Bull. I just was like, yo, this is it, you know? And then I remember the Catering Out of SoundCloud days, and then like Selection. And up until that point, I was trying to find what I wanted to do, because I was making like hip hop beats, and I also was like making folk music. And so I was just like diving into different genres. But when I found house music, it stuck on me.
Black techno guy.
And being classically trained and being in school at that time, it was a lot of rules that I was learning and like formations I was learning. But house music helped me like even that out. So I was able to take the stuff I knew and learned, but also bend the rules when I started making dance music.
Techno guy.
This is a pillow. I got it from H. Lorenzo. I bought this beat to commemorate my first headline tour, which was in 2022 for a project I did called Real Cultural Shit. You know, me and Thundercat was just hanging out one day, and we went there, and I was just like, man, I want to get something to commemorate the milestone I just made. And so I got this. It's a pillow, and it turns into a jacket. It's made by Capital. So if you like unbutton it, it just turns into a jacket. I took it with me when I went on tour in Europe. Throw it on. Whew. I gotta unzip it a little more, but yeah, definitely turned into a jacket. I love Japan and everything that they do. I feel like a lot of their clothes are unisex. I feel like out here in America, it's like the men's section, the women's section. I'm just like, sometimes the women's clothes are more like appealing, because they have different designs and stuff like that. I think I'm a collector unofficially. I like collecting instruments. I like collecting like beat machines, and like I like collecting laptops. Cause I don't know, I got a bunch of laptops, but I have a laptop for this, a laptop for that, a laptop for that. I like to upload different programs, but then I like to go back to the old laptops because they have different sounds on it. You know, if I want to dive back into something. It varies. I'm a skirt kind of guy. I like to flow and be free. So like a skirt and a tank top and a beanie and some glasses, I'm good. It depends on what my accountant is saying, cause like early on, like maybe a few years ago when I started making money, it was very impulse, cause I was like, oh, I could go do this, and I would just get stuff. Now I have a closet full of stuff that I don't probably wear, but I don't want to sell it. As I'm like matured, I'm much more calculated. I like to get stuff that I'm gonna actually wear and see how it's gonna last. Can I wear it in different occasions? Can I match it with different items?
Day 4 of the 44 Laws of Peace. Law number 4, say less.
This book, I found it on TikTok. Some girl was saying something on TikTok and she was reading from it. It's called The 44 Laws of Peace. I keep it in my bag. I take it with me to the studio. I take it with me while I'm traveling. There's a lot of negative things in the world. There's a lot of things on the timeline, on whatever. I really get bent out of shape about it sometimes. So I try to keep little things around me to combat that, because for some reason, like say for instance on social media, there could be tons of like positive comments, but then that one negative thing will just freak me out for a couple of days, and I really got to work on that. So this book is cool, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I open it to a random page and I just read off of it. Discipline is the key to freedom. You would be unstoppable if, in the face of temptation, laziness, and impulse, you held true to the path that you set for yourself when you were free from such distractions. Like, you know, that's a great thing and a great nugget of positive information to take with me. I'm all about that, especially growing up in Compton and growing up around like really negative things. I have to really combat survival mode, because I can go to survival mode really quick and like start thinking everything's wrong, start thinking that I'm doing something wrong. And I constantly have to tell myself, bro, you're not in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Because I've always been looking over my shoulder since I was a kid. So sometimes that could spring over into adulthood. And so you got to have things to combat that. My tour, the Enigma tour, is coming to North America this fall. So get your tickets. And then the album also will be coming, and I hope you listen to it.